What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new Pokemon Duel video. Today we're going to be discussing the results for week 2 of the YouTuber tournament. Let's get right into it. Now, before we actually get into today's video, I do want to mention that the gameplay off to the side is not even loosely related to what I'm talking about right now. It's literally just to entertain you guys while I talk about the results of this week of the tournament. So let's go ahead and talk about week 2's results. So first off, I think it's important to note that Esper was not nearly as dominant as some of us suspected. Anti-Esper control decks actually did very well this week, took me out down to loser's bracket first off and foremost, but I do want to mention that there are 2 decks in particular that take full advantage of decks that counter Esper, but not only do that, but seem to counter a lot of the rest of the meta. So the first deck was specifically created to beat down on Esper decks, and that's Shugazi's anti-Esper deck, and that really screwed up my deck. It really messed me up, so mad props to him. He saw everything that I was playing in my deck in week 1 and figured I would not change it going into week 2 because I did okay in week 1. And props to him because he just murdered me. But there's also another deck that came out that beats Esper decks, but also beats other decks, and this was created by Jet Erickson. Jet basically created a full tier list that goes over every single common Pokemon and assigns them a 1 to 10 rating, which sort of denotes how good they are in relation to each other. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out the link in the description below to his tier list. So basically, guys, make sure you go down to the description and see his tier list because it's really well put together. But he put together a deck off of his tier list, making a good stuff deck, which basically means that it doesn't have a label because it doesn't have a real game plan. It's just the best parts of every single part of the game put into one deck, and mad props to him because it worked out extremely well. Whisper came back and won again with Poliwag Geodude Lockdown, and I have to say that is looking like one of the dominant strategies in this tournament. I'm actually kind of surprised more people didn't pick it up going from week 1 to week 2 because it did so well week 1. It dominated week 1, okay? And then moving into week 2, it's dominating as well, so huge props to him. That's an awesome strategy, and it's working out extremely well in the winner's bracket. Next up, we have Mid-Range Beatdown. Now, the thing is that Mid-Range Beatdown moved on almost completely. There are 3 Mid-Range Beatdown decks in the current top 8, which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm actually excited to see if some of the other interesting decks that we're seeing in the top part of the bracket actually are able to beat Mid-Range Beatdown because it seems so dominant. Being able to change your game plan on a dime and go fully defensive and do well at it, I mean, that just seems invaluable. So going into next week, I'm very excited to see how that fares. Next up, we've got Status Effect Control, which basically just relies on getting status effects on all of the opposing Pokemon, making their miss slices absolutely massive, and then just winning the match because of it. Is this going to be effective against Mid-Range Beatdown? Yes. Is it going to be effective against Gumi Control? Yes. Is it going to be effective against Good Stuff? Possibly a little bit less so. And is it going to be effective against Esper? Yes, definitely, because Esper relies on a 1-star purple move, and Status Effect Control relies on 2-star purple moves to inflict status effects. I think we might actually see more of those next week, because that seems like a really fantastic strategy, and overall, status effects are probably going to end up being king in this meta. Finally, guys, we have the Lone Warrior moving into top 8 of the winner's bracket. Gumi Control has 1 list remaining in top 8. I'm very excited to see if Gumi Control even remains in top 8 in next week's matches. So hopefully you guys are as well, because I've loved watching some of these Gumi Control matches. They're just crazy. Now, going right back into what we were discussing last week, do you guys think that mid-range beatdown decks are going to do well in the coming weeks in the winner's bracket and going forward in the loser's bracket? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Finally, guys, my next opponent's going to be none other than Shuppet Speed. Now, Shuppet Speed's also in the loser's bracket. We are going to be fighting for our tournament lives this week, and he played a mid-range beatdown deck in the past 2 weeks. I'm curious to see what he does for week 3 because he did change around his deck, even though it still maintained the same label pretty significantly from week 1 to week 2. The unfortunate thing is I don't know if I can directly counter that deck. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a contender no matter what I do, and it can't be like an Esper control deck where I just get hosed by some Carvanas, you know, or get hosed by some Magnemites. I don't think that's going to go down in the same way because they're so resilient because their game plans can change on a dime. But yeah, guys, that's going to be about it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you back here for the tournament set very, very shortly. And until then, Peace.